The Kithara had been hunting for 3 days when it finally caught the scent. Sweet, young, vulnerable, a human child, separated from its pack. The 8-foot predator's mandibles clicked with satisfaction as it traced the trail through the dense undergrowth of Kepler 442b's northern forests. To the Kithara, humans were still a curiosity. These strange bipeds had arrived on their world only 2 cycles ago, establishing their settlement with typical mammalian audacity. The Kithara had observed them from the shadows, soft creatures, with blunt teeth and pathetic claws, utterly dependent on their crude tools, easy prey when isolated. The trail led to a small clearing where a human child sat beside a fallen log, no more than 8 or 9 standard years old. She had auburn hair that caught the alien sun's amber light and wore the simple blue garments typical of the human colony. She appeared to be collecting the luminescent fungi that grew in the area, her small hands carefully placing specimens into a woven basket. The Kithara circled the clearing, its natural camouflage making it nearly invisible among the twisted trees. This would be simple. One quick strike, and it would drag the child back to its lair. The colony would search, of course, but they would find nothing. The Kithara had perfected this hunt across generations. It prepared to spring, muscles coiling like loaded springs beneath its chitinous hide. The child looked up suddenly, her large brown eyes scanning the tree line. For a moment, predator and prey locked gazes across the clearing. The child did not scream. She did not run. Instead, she slowly reached into her basket and withdrew what appeared to be a small communication device. "Mom," she said quietly, her voice carrying clearly in the still air. "I found one." The Kithara hesitated. This was not the reaction it had expected. Where was the fear? The desperate flight that would trigger its pursuit instincts? The child continued to stare directly at it, as if she could see through its camouflage. "Yes, Mom, a big one. Right where you said it would be." The child paused, listening to the device. "Okay, I'll stay right here." Confusion rippled through the Kithara's thoughts. What did the child mean, where she said it would be? How could the humans have known of its presence? The woods around the clearing began to change. It started subtly, a shift in the ambient sounds, the distant crack of branches under careful footfalls. The Kithara's predatory senses, honed by millions of years of evolution, detected movement in the tree line. Not clumsy, panicked searching, but coordinated, deliberate positioning. The child remained seated, calmly continuing to sort her fungi as if an apex predator wasn't crouched 30 meters away. She began to hum, a soft, haunting melody that seemed to drift through the trees like smoke. That's when the Kithara realized it could no longer hear the normal sounds of the forest, the chittering of insects, the calls of tree-dwelling creatures, the rustle of small animals in the underbrush. All had fallen silent. The only sound was the child's gentle humming and the steady rhythm of its own breathing. Movement caught its eye. A figure emerged from the trees across the clearing, a human adult, moving with fluid grace that belied the species' reputation for clumsiness. Then another appeared to its left, then another to its right. The Kithara spun slowly, its 6 legs, adjusting its position as it counted. 10 humans now stood at the edge of the clearing, spaced at perfect intervals around its position. They held weapons, but not the crude projectile throwers it had observed before. These were sleek, angular devices that hummed with barely contained energy. "Hello there," said one of the humans, a tall female with the same auburn hair as the child. Her voice carried the same calm confidence as her offspring. "We've been waiting for you." The Kithara's mind raced. This was impossible. Humans were prey animals, soft and weak. They built their settlements in defensible positions and rarely ventured alone into the wilderness. How had they turned the hunt around so completely? "You see," the woman continued, stepping slightly closer, "we know all about your kind. The systematic disappearances, the hunting patterns, the territorial behaviors." She gestured to her daughter, who waved cheerfully at the Kithara, Sarah here volunteered to be the bait. "I've been practicing my sitting still," the child, Sarah, announced proudly. "And I learned all about apex predator psychology from Dr. Chen's xenobiology course." The pieces fell into place with horrifying clarity. The humans hadn't stumbled onto this world by accident. They had studied it, studied the Kythera, learned their patterns, their instincts, their weaknesses. The colony wasn't a desperate group of refugees. It was a beachhead. "The thing is," another human said, this one male with intricate markings on his arms that seemed to shift in the amber light, "Earth has some pretty impressive predators too. We learned to hunt them, study them, and when necessary, manage them." The Kythera looked from face to face, seeing no fear, no uncertainty, only the calm patience of hunters who had already won. "So here's what's going to happen," the woman continued. "You're going to come with us. We have some questions about your species, your hunting grounds, your social structure. You're going to help us understand how to coexist on this world." "And if I refuse?" The Kythera managed to rasp in the human tongue it had learned through observation. Sarah looked up from her fungi with the bright smile that only human children seemed capable of. "Then the woods go silent for a different reason." The Kythera felt something it had never experienced in its 15 cycles of life. The cold recognition of being completely outmaneuvered by what it had assumed was prey. These humans had allowed themselves to be hunted just long enough to understand their hunter. Then they had turned the entire forest into a trap. As the energy weapons powered up with synchronized hums, the Kythera realized that perhaps the humans' greatest strength wasn't their tools or their intelligence. It was their patience. The terrifying patience of a species that had spent millennia turning from prey into the galaxy's most efficient predators. The woods remained silent as the Kythera lowered itself in submission, finally understanding why. The galaxy's other species spoke of humans in hushed, respectful tones. They didn't just survive in hostile environments. They made those environments serve them. And sometimes, the most dangerous trap was the one that looked like a helpless child gathering mushrooms in a quiet clearing.